Thank you for this incredible presentation. At the level. Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We are Fake Industries Architectural Agonism, a conglomerate of several that explores the fake.
That is, the projects that refuse essential originality and multiply and open up possible descriptions and also we investigate agonism.
Or to be more specific, the emphasis on the potential aspect of certain form of disagreement, accepting permanent place for such friction, but challenging it positively. We hope this lecture will serve to clarify these obtuse definitions.
But first of all, we would like to thank the architectural lead for this opportunity, and especially Anna Reisenbach and Nick Anderson for their infinite patience and commitment in dealing with our idiotic crisis. And the members of the committee and the jury of the Young Architects Forum 2009, Foresight, for choosing our proposal.
Well, as it happens, as soon as we read the call for submissions entitled Foresight, we agreed to attempt to describe architecture future would be at least bad taste. In the middle of a crisis caused by infinitive truth of anticipation and forethought, expended revenues, delayed payments, long-term loans, and future market, then is how to deal with the consequences.
Think backwards. Recall. Early foresights offer a begun sort of delight. None got closer to the extension of this capitalist disaster. Architects' honeymoon with the economic power is over and is becoming an unfriendly divorce. We are left with its cost, not truth, overpriced assets to dispose of, and a traumatized progeny of users stripped for their home ownership. For the time being, the state mediates, but the various stimulus packages seem to avoid architecture.
Therefore, we decide to fold Foresight upon itself and use it as a wrapper for a portfolio that arranges architectural operations in a distributed way: foreclosure, real estate, and credit, which refer as much to the original meaning as to the last year economic reorganization. That is, the dramatic increase of foreclosures, the burst of the real estate bubble, and the extreme lack of credit. In other words, nothing but to the conditions in which we operate.
So let's start with the first category. Let's start with foreclosure fantasies. Occasional commissions originated in the unpleasant possibility of applying future eviction, or under the pressure of an already implemented one. The increasing number of citizens expelled for their home calls for a search of alternative forms of domesticity emerged from foreclosures. Such investigation is primarily typological. It starts from existing forms of domesticity and get distorted when the new type of users, those evicted, occupy them. To this day, we have identified two almost opposed approaches. The first, when the user has been already evicted and find him or herself in the street. In such cases, we have explored strategies to make available free domestic spaces, whether provided by institutions or by private individuals. Our campaign, Free New York City Apartments, implemented in 2006, publicized the mechanism that the public has to get a free apartment operated by the City of New York. It also mapped different free apartments offered by the city, to the city through Craigslist. In any case, the effects of the incorporation of these new subjects is still to be measured.
But talking about the agonistic approach, I have to say that I don't agree whatsoever. That indeed, the foreclosure fantasies are housing projects that evade regulations and veil the hardness of the housing market. Unfortunately, the pictures are transformed into new topologies, but most importantly, the new topologies become rebelling machines. So, for example, this project of free apartments that we were talking about, it reveals, first, the intrinsic difficulty of looking for other alternatives than the regular market to find a house, that's for sure. But then, how does it reveal it? First, making an advertisement campaign that vandalizes the MTA official signs, hiring homeless people to distribute instructions, and publishing advertisement in newspapers and vandalize news channels.
So anyway, a second approach, probably more typological, that we take on foreclosures explores those cases in which pressure of a possible eviction force a downsize of the domestic space, and therefore forced to rethink it. One possible solution is the mixed use. The reemergence of the home office of the 90s that was displayed and is in display right now in advertisements in the subway. But this go back to the home office is not so literal. This time, it's not the work that moved to the house, but rather the subject who literally moved to the office when they are evicted from his house. For example, the corporate office needs to absorb domestic activities without losing his corporate identity. Like in the case of Cesar, when we renovated his office, he asked us to hide a bathroom, a kitchen, a washing machine, and any reference to domestic life, including the stair that climbs to a secret bedroom, behind a glowing door that is actually the corporate identity, a stage for his meeting table.
But still, I again have to say that I don't agree at all, and that the important thing about this project is not the political issue, but what it reveals. And what it reveals is how to jump over legal regulations regarding where could you live and where could you not live. So the question would be, could you make a living in an office, a living that would be completely hidden, a house that completely disappears if necessary? And how can we do these things public? Specifically, revealing the secret passages, the doors that hide illegal houses in an office, and publishing these pictures, for example, in the architectural poster.
Okay, just to continue, even if you don't agree, in the same trend. Similar, we designed sleeping pods for architectural interns that were never implemented for a well-known architectural office. Those are the designs, actually. The sleeping pods folded to become lamps during the day and unfold during the night for those interns that did not have a house to go back at. Sadly, the office could not afford either the pods or the interns anymore.
But still, you people not talking about the important thing, which is the living situation of architectural interns and the economy of the offices themselves that are partially supported by the work of them, that basically don't sleep, make coffee, and don't get paid. So, I mean, we do these sleeping pods that basically are lamps that architectural office would have, I mean, hanging from the ceiling, hang during the day and before during the night again.
Okay, just to go back to the typological discussion. Downsize produces a second typological rethinking related with the packaging. How many activities can you pack in a functional minimum space? We attempt to invert this logic in a similar way that we did with the Cesar project before. In this renovation of a loft in Brooklyn, for two roommates, we built 2 boxes to host only privacy, leaving domestic activities outside. The programmatic success of this project has been best described by one of the users, as follows. There have been some questions about the possibility of asphyxiation. Will I be able to breathe in there? The answer is yes. You can both breathe and suffocate. Few have died already, but if you survive, you will have the ride of your life. The original 2 boxes have been already been successfully tested for sexual activity, reading philosophy and comics, arguments, gentle conversation, weeping, thinking and not thinking, and for being silent. Further exercise are expected in the near future.
Yes, but again, what is this project reveal? You could breathe or get asphyxiated, I don't care. I mean, the only thing that this project reveals really is how to build sexy possibilities of a dramatic lack of budget and space. Budget in terms of not being able to live alone in a city as expensive as New York. And the only way of making this thing public is doing white parties and maybe even movies.
Okay, since you don't agree, I think we should do the next section.
Well, the next section is real estate nightmares. Real estate nightmares are planning projects that take advantage of the burdens of the real estate bubble. They focus on the lots that are economical sense of lack of time, safe from the speculative development, and secure them against future bubbles. So we're going to show 3 different examples. The first project is called Chunks. What it does is focusing in the leftovers of the real estate, in other words, in difficult empty lots. They are categorized, studied, and given an individual identity to each of them. And this specific identity is what somehow save them from the speculation afterwards, since they are applied that automatic management, that create automatic management of the site. We divide these strategies in 3 groups: nature, potentiality of use, and property management. Or the second project that would be golf, that take advantage of the birds of the real estate bell, again, using the most successful form of suburban development that leads in Spain, that again is golf. It prevents speculative development by transforming the inherent parts of the golf itself into social activators of ecologic management. For example, the green, the net, etc. Here you have one of them. The net could be a social activator as a device for scaling, and then also an ecological tool as to plant things in general. And then the last one could be superphosphate, that is also one project that is in construction, that takes advantage of the birds of the real estate bubble by centering in abandoned development surrounded by highly speculative real estate operations, in this case all abandoned meaning neighborhoods, and preventing speculative development, avoiding to recover the history of the site since it was a mining in the past, in a nostalgic manner that could attract gentrification process and tourism by the way around, using specific strategies that will bring like a new use to all these elements, like for example, where the superphosphates in this place, since it was a superphosphate mine, or which kind of illumination techniques the mines used to use, and now we propose something that has to do with it, but in a completely different manner, or even the galleries that we use to create infrastructures along the site, and even in other parts of the city.
Okay, but all these 3 projects actually, all these 3 projects can be also read a different way. Since these projects are nothing but exploration of the domestic dreams of a generation of the Spaniards, those that celebrated the death of the dictator Francisco Franco in 1976, and embraced a progressive transformation of the country during 12 years of socialist government. A generation known as the transition, a sort of equivalent of the post-68 generation that Ulevek liked to trash in his books. A generation that 20 years later does not dream of social transformation, but rather dreams of golf and suburban turf. In fact, social democratic dreams turn to real estate nightmares after the burst of the bubble. In summary, those projects are basically scary images that grant access to unconscious domestic imaginary. When identified, such repressive images are as therapeutical as propositional. Like the case of the strategies to transform the neighborhood of Aldea Moret. Those are all the renderings that the introduction was mentioned before. Where nature and small-scale acupuncture intertwine with sustainability and metropolitan intensities to propose an actualized version of the pre-urbanized space, that of the childhood memories of the generation of the transition. Or, in the case of golf, where the American imported golf course suburban development increased its density, becoming a series of urban blocks that had a golf course in its courtyard. The proletarian cultural locomotive, we call it. Golf, historically reserved for the elites of the dictatorship, becomes the aspiration of the middle class culture, but it does so integrating the golf courses in the city, or even the case of superphosphate, in which an abandoned village escaped the danger of urbanization by embracing the city infrastructure. Water treatment, public light system, sewers, wireless network, recycling and trash processing perform at urban level, but at the village scale, defining a small-scale management model to be repeated in the different neighborhoods of the city.
Hence, the question repeats over and over: can these urban dreams, now becoming nightmares, bring back urbanity?
So we left this question open, and we move to the last category: credit dreams. That is, models of architectural production whose main requirement is to bypass credit agencies or similar forms of budgetary tyranny. Once the time of excess seems over, one of our lines of research explores how to reduce the budget to a minimum without compromising the results. It seems obvious. One will say that architects have always fought over budget reductions, but we are actually proposed here is to investigate how architectural production changed when one worked with almost no cash. As it happens, there's a big difference between having no cash at all and working with insanely reduced budget. Under the former, no budget at all, success, collaboration, and compromise are key. With some budget, creative management has direct repercussions on the project success.
But again, I mean, I don't agree at all, and I think that the main interest in credit dreams is that they are ephemeral projects that teach citizens how to appropriate certain information on a urban space that is normally restricted for an elite. The projects are fugacious, but the most importantly, the knowledge remains, recovering somehow the tradition in the secret school or illegal learning centers.
But let's move to the project itself. To work with collaborators that agree to help for free requires, besides a powerful reason to do so, simplify tasks and reduce workload. We test all three, in the DCR project, the Department for Citizenship Requirement, a network of informal academies that offer courses on the various ways of becoming a citizen of the USA. The reason was the US law HH 4437 that penalized any help granted to illegal aliens. The school was organized through a free hosted website, freenewyorcity.tk, and the network mobilized a board of advisors that included artists, urban activists, lawyers, and architects, and more than 50 volunteer instructors. The courses were self-organized with the material downloadable, and the material was available from the web. DCR offered a didactic material and the advisory support for three different courses: Free New York City Marriage course, Free New York City Political Asylum Intensive course, Free New York City General Refugee Intensive course. During the year 2006, several courses were spontaneously organized in public spaces in New York.
But again, which is the core of the information that was displayed in this project? So, first, how to build invisible headquarters for illegal education purposes, being completely out of credit and using only non-controlled public spaces for these classes and meetings. For example, cafes with no cameras like Starbucks. And the information distributed was restricted, of course, because of the illegal nature of the activity. So if you were helping somehow to educate an illegal alien, then you would go to jail as well. So it all had to be completely underground. And then all the information was made public by involving a remarkable number of professionals in the project, publishing open for free the information, classes, appointments, and coursework online, making a website, as Urtzi said just before, and doing a large-scale advertising campaign for the non-native speakers. This, for example, is for non-native speakers.
Okay, but just to move to more maybe typological discussions, the disciplinary, because the disciplinary implications of these actions are hard to measure, and its effects remain in the sphere of social activism. Only the times when we work with some budget, even if it remained reduced, the conclusions have moved a little bit closer to architecture. Temporality, of course, is a consequence of rigorous budget, but perhaps not as interesting as the use of as-found spaces. That means kind of a picturesque use of the existing city. As in the case of Circuit, a fashion catwalk, part of the Barcelona Fashion Week, that did not have budget enough to rent an exhibition hall like with the other fashion catwalks. So we proposed them to distribute the shows through Barcelona, finding spots where a threshold was not needed. The work began with the definition of the overall concept of the season. Next, joining efforts with the production crowd, we searched for locations in the streets of Barcelona. There were basically 8 fashion catwalks a day, and each season of circuits come with 3 days. Every event was precisely scripted. We defined the position of the carpet, press, public, backstage, and lights, and set the schedule. Coordination on organization was the space to innovate. With that experience, when another fashion company asked us to put together a show with not budget and not even models, we substitute them with industrial funds, that's the case. Far more cheaper actually, and proposed an event that required even more extreme coordination. To occupy a private space, install, dismantle, and leave before the owner and the police notice it, a sort of fashion rave. saving rent and investing all the funds in promotion and digital effects. 30 meters of digital wallpaper, 10 coordinated projectors, DJ, etc., etc. It worked out. 1 hour installing, 30 minutes show, 30 minutes dismantling. No police.
Yeah, when we stop for a second to talk about technology, the information that was displayed with this project was how to recover the streets for activities normally restricted for a selected elite. And the restricted information was restricted because, of course, the private and specialized nature of activity, meaning catwalks, professional catwalks completely, or raves that were somehow secret, of course. And it was made public by distributed instructions of how to organize these events in the street, like incompletely credit. So we made like these files and distributed them completely. But just to finish, our most successful project without any credit was how we wanted to find out what was the way to be able to be famous in New York in the architectural network without having contacts and without having credit at all. So what we did is we invented a group of architects that had just arrived in New York from zero, from Europe, and we made a CV and a portfolio of works, all completely false, of course. And we went to talk to a group of PR from New York, professionals. We paid them a little money, and we told them that we wanted to know exactly which parties we had to go, which were the places that we had to be, which editorials we had to talk to, etc., etc. So after all this research, we could make like first little sketches, but then a very complex network of not only the keys that you have to touch, but also the intensity that you have to touch them. For example, your appearance, your level, how you have to speak, where exactly you have to go and when. And in order to display all this information, we want to.
Yeah, we basically publish, so to say, as proof of log that we distribute in log itself by inserting several of these logging issues in logs that were unsaid and probably some people would have this strange, add to log 10 that explains, different ways to become successful in New York as an architect. But anyway, just to close, and summarize what we do think that we've done before. I would say before, under the question of foresight, we would prefer not to offer any conciliatory solutions of moralized futures, not even dystopian cynicism. Our humble contribution to the disclosure of disciplined future is a set of architectural operations, test against the present conditions, folklore fantasies, real estate nightmares, and credit dreams.
So now it's for the daring fool or the impudent hostler to draw images of the future with such materials. Thank you.